How do I find the correct ETFs to invest in after I decided on my asset allocation? What kinds of ETFs can I invest in? There are various answers to these questions. I want to introduce you to the website of justETF, which is my personal favorite when it comes to finding information on ETFs. So let's go with this next video. Hi everyone, my name is Sven and I want to show you with my videos that taking care of your personal finances doesn't need to be complicated. In today's video, we will have a look at the website justETF. The website allows you to search for different ETFs, to compare them with each other, or to even simulate example portfolios. The website is available in English, German and Italian, which makes it justETF a perfect source for nearly every person around the world. When would you use justETF? I use it every time I'm looking for a specific ETF or want to check general information of one of the ETFs of my own portfolio. In one of my last videos, linked here at the top, I already provided you with a 5-step investing guideline. When you're finished with step 3, your theoretical asset allocation, you need to find the corresponding ETFs to put them into your own portfolio. This is where justETF comes in really handy. So let's have a look together at the website and how it works. So when opening the website, you start always at this homepage here. In case the language is still displayed in German, you can select English here at the top, which you see already selected, or when you want to switch to Italian, you can also do that here. Next to it, you can select where you're located and from where you're investing. So in my case, this here would be Germany. I'm a private investor, so nothing to change here. On the homepage itself, you can find some general and sometimes interesting information about the functionalities of justETF or also about different ETFs or investing strategies. We will focus in this video here on the ETF screener, and when you just hover over it, you already see here some subpages created in case you want some guidance or additional information for your research, but we go directly to the ETF screener. So we're here now at the ETF screener, and in this ETF search here we can have a look at more than 1000 ETFs. In total, 1656 ETFs are listed here on the right. But to filter that, we have here on the left side several filter options to limit the shown ETFs. So in order to know what to filter for, we need to define our asset allocation before. So let's assume in this video that you want to follow a classic 70-30 world portfolio with the indices of MSCI World and the MSCI Emerging Markets. Our focus will be just the stock market, leaving out bonds, commodities, real estate or other asset classes. So here on the left, we don't have to focus on all these other asset classes, we just will go here to equity. In order now to start with the MSCI World, we have to go here to region and select World. If you, for example, were looking for emerging markets, you would need to select this element here, or you have here also other filter option in case you want to play with that. We select here World. So we see that already our number here goes down to 253, which is a lot lower than before. Now we can add additional filters here in case you want to follow specific strategies or like some other grouping criteria. We want to take here a really lean and easy approach, so I will exclude now all the specific ETFs for like sectors, different equity strategies, and also the theme I will just exclude here. So I just go here, select no sectors, go down, say no equity strategy, and go down and say no theme. So like that, we already got down now to 40 ETFs just covering the global stock market. You can already see here on the right that all the ETFs are grouped by the underlying indices. For example, at the top here we have the FTSE All World. If you already know which index you want to follow with an ETF, you can look for it in the drop down here at the left. It's exactly here. And just select here the index which you want to display here on the right. So let's say we want to follow the MSCI World, then we can directly select here the MSCI World. The list here just shows you all matching indices based on the filters we already applied here before. So it makes sense to filter before so that you don't have to scroll through all the hundreds of indices and just get the ones which are relevant for you. So let's select here the MSCI World. And you see on the right that we just now have all the ETFs following the MSCI World Index. Now there's the question how to decide for one of these 18 ETFs we are seeing here. For that you have more filter options further down here on the left sidebar, here in this area. And there the most important filter is probably the savings plan ETFs, which is directly here. Because here it allows you to filter the ETFs by the brokers where you can invest in them with a savings plan. So let's say you have your depot at the DKB. Then the number here automatically changes to the 17 ETFs you can invest in at the DKB to follow the MSCI World Index. When you use Trade Republic, the number goes down to 10 ETFs. You already see here always in the parentheses after the filter element how many ETFs there will be available. So depending where you have your depot, you can change here the broker and you see which kind of ETFs you can invest in at the different brokers. Which broker is like better, or let's say advantages and disadvantages, we will cover in a future video. Because it does not mean that the DKB is now better automatically because you can invest there in more ETFs than at the Trade Republic. Let's change the filter now back to the DKB. And now we will have a look at some other filter options here. So you can, for example, filter the fund size, where it's always good to just invest in bigger ETFs. So when you go down here, it should have the fund size exactly here. So usually you should always invest in ETFs which are bigger than 500 million or at least have a size of 100 million. So let's select here larger than 500 million. Additionally, you could also filter here on the use of profit, whether you want to invest in a distributing or accumulating ETF when it comes to dividends. So this you would find here in use of profit, which is exactly here, and here you can filter between accumulating or distributing ETFs. But let's leave this open for the moment and go up to our list here. Now that we have all our filters in place, we can sort our ETFs by the total expense ratio called TER. Because this is here the annual cost of the ETF, so it's reducing automatically the return on your investment because it's a cost percentage which gets automatically reduced. So of course we want to minimize the TER of our investments and should definitely pay attention to this parameter here. So we have now at the top the ETFs which are following the MSCI World Index and can be invested in when you have your depot at the DKB. So let's open this SPDR MSCI World ETF here. You can find all needed information of the ETF here on this new page. So for example, you see the current price or the ISIN number, which is like a unique identifier for each ETF. This one you should always use when you look for an ETF at your broker, because there's the risk that you invest into an ETF which sounds quite familiar but is actually quite different. The names of the different ETFs are sometimes not really clear and can be really misleading, so that with this identifier you're always on the safe side that you really invest into the correct ETF. When we scroll here further down, you find, for example, here some general information like the replication method, or you find also the currency and the distribution policy, which is like here accumulating, which means that the dividends of the different shares in these ETFs are automatically reinvested into the fund. When you scroll further down, you have here some data regarding the past performance of the ETF or also the MSCI World Index, because this ETF is following this index, which is sometimes quite interesting to see how the ETF performed over the last year, months, and different time zones which we have here. Further down now, we have here some information regarding the savings plan, which are also really interesting to see where you can buy this ETF and also what are the related fees. So for example, this ETF here you can buy without any fees at the moment at Scalable and at Flatix. Whereas for all the other ones, for example the DKB, you have like a small fee here for each savings plans transaction. Depending on the amount you are investing in with your savings plans, the fees may change. So for example, here at the bottom two, you can see that the fees are increasing with the amount you want to invest with your savings plan. What is always worth a look is here under Documents, the fact sheets. Because a fact sheet is the official document of each ETF published by the provider of the ETF. So it's really an official document giving you all the, let's say, general facts and information of the ETF. So in our case, we want to have the fact sheet here in English, and we just click on it to open it. So here on this fact sheet, you have the most important information on 2 to 3 pages. You have again the ISN number here at the top, which is, like I already said, quite important when you want to identify the correct ETF at your broker. What you can also find here is some other information which are also usually available at the justETF webpage. The difference is that you're here looking really at the official document of the ETF provider. So you should always read through the whole fact sheet and, for example, compare the TER, so the annual cost of this ETF, to the information which is provided on justETF. So here in this example, the fact sheet shows a TER of 0.12%, which is also matching with the information provided at the website of justETF. What you also have here is like a short description at the top, and further down on this page some performance data. When we go to the second page, here you find something like a breakdown of the different companies you're investing in and how the ETF is generally structured. So here at the top, you find a breakdown of the top 10 holdings and the different industries of the ETF, which are of course mirrored from the MSCI World Index. You see here that you in total invest in 1,545 companies with this ETF. Below that, you see the biggest 10 positions percentage-wise of the fund's volume, which are companies you probably know, like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and so on. Then you also see some additional breakdowns, for example, by industry or also by country here at the bottom. But here the ETF is again just simply following the MSCI World Index, like all these ETFs which are based on this index. So a fact sheet always covers similar information like you see here, but the layout is always quite different depending on the ETF provider, because each of the provider has its own layout. So probably if you open another fact sheet, the layout will be slightly different. So let's close this fact sheet here again, and let's go back to our ETF search list. So now we are here back at our ETF we selected before, where we opened the fact sheet from. So let's go another step back to our ETF list where we started our research. So in general, we can say that you find at justETF quite some information. But what at the end should be really important for you is to filter your search on the correct index, check that the ETF fund size is at least 100 million euros, and that the ETF is available at your broker. Then you can of course compare the TER here on the right and select the ETF which has the lowest cost. One last point which might be interesting for you is whether the ETF is distributing or accumulating the dividends. In the section Use of Profits, which we already saw before, you can filter for these characteristics. So for example, let's say you just want to have distributing ETFs in your portfolio. Then you can click here for distributing, and you will see that the list here at the top will change again. The one ETF which we had a look at before is gone, because when you remember, it was an accumulating ETF. If you prefer distributing ETFs, the best choice here would be probably the HSBC ETF, because here the TER is just 0.15%. So you could also click on this one here and check here again like the different details and parameters of this ETF. If you then at the end say, okay, I like this ETF and the ETF is also available at my broker, you again go here at the top, take the identifier here, check it at your broker and set up your savings plan accordingly. The savings plan is then automatically executed on a monthly or quarterly basis, and you are constantly investing into the stock market with your ETFs. And this is already the basics which you need to know for justETF. I hope this video helped you to get an idea how to find the correct ETF with the website justETF. You can perform all your research and comparisons there to find the perfect ETF for your portfolio. Feel free to subscribe to stay on board for future content and to leave a like to support this channel. I'm looking forward to getting your feedback in the comments below and preparing the next video for you. So see you soon and have a great day.